Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. October 12th, you're back in action. This will be your 9th fight in the UFC. The 10th if you count the Contender Series. I like to count the Contender Series. That's a UFC fight. What were some of the best moments do you think so far in your career with the UFC?
I think London was amazing experience. I think um, also beating, just having my first win under Kai Kamaka during COVID. It was like quiet, different. And then my favorite of all would be the Elkins fight. Broke the top 15. Gave some damage to the damage. Got baptized in the Elkins blood. Uh, I think that solidifies me as top contender in the UFC.
Oh yeah, you've had some seriously big wins, against really good competition. Like you said, the Kai Kamaka fight, I think a lot of people didn't expect that outcome the way you took him out pretty easily, to be honest with you. And then the Darren Elkins, I remember the post fight where you talk about throwing up, almost throwing up from the blood or choking on the blood or something like that.
Yeah, my mouth was so dry, and the only thing that I had was blood in my mouth, so it was kind of it was not good.
No, no. Well, now you got Pat Sabatini, man, a pretty damn good opponent, 5-2 in the UFC. What are your thoughts on him and the fighting style?
I think he's not very good in the striking. If you look at his last two fights, I think he's a decent wrestler, but wrestling doesn't always translate as well in the MMA. I'm tall, so I feel like I can defend his wrestling. I feel like the biggest thing is for me is not put myself in bad spots. So I'll fight too much, and I got to pull myself back a little bit and just like stick to the game plan and not do too much.
Yeah, yeah, he is a guy that likes to wrestle and likes to grapple. And did you see that he's ranked number one in controlled time percentage in the UFC of all fighters?
No, I didn't see that.
That's pretty trippy statistic, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It is. It is damn good. Because there's been some good wrestlers in the UFC in the history of the promotion. Obviously, he's gonna want to take you down and go for submissions. That's pretty much all his finishes is submissions. Is this submission over position or position over submission for you?
Position over submission.
And how does that affect the fight? Do you think? Because there's some guys that you see out there that really go for submissions over position, and it seems like it works for them.
I feel like it's good if you know you got it. You know what I mean? That's where the training comes in. But it gets slippery after the first 2-3 minutes. So you can't really hang on. And then with blood, it's gonna be a whole different ball game because in practice, like you're not getting that bloody and things like that, and you're not fighting in practice. So I feel like it's gonna be hard for him to take those risky moves, and I'm gonna make him pay for his misses. I'm gonna make him pay for when he goes for a submission and fails.
He hasn't fought in 11 months. That's a pretty decent layoff. What was your longest layoff and how did it impact you?
I think my biggest layoff was when I broke my jaw, and then also I had a layoff when I fought Joe Lozon after him because I had shoulder surgery. I think it makes you a little rusty because you don't know how fast paced the fight is, and you kind of get a little sleepy. So, and with him not having the best striking, I feel like it's going to be counterintuitive to him.
Yeah, it seems like also that you mentioned the long layoff being rusty and it seems like he gets finished early in fights. You know what I mean? Like a lot of his losses are first round finishes.
He seems kind of chinny, like he can't take the punches well.
And your last fight against David Oyama, how were you after that fight, physically and mentally?
Um, just kind of, I feel like run down. Like I got to the top real fast, and then I then had to fight two top contenders that didn't fight the guys I fought. Didn't fight the type of fights that I fought. You can go back and look at my significant count strike. I'm a good wrestler. I could definitely hold these guys down and wrestle them, but I'm trying to put on a show. I'm trying to knock these guys out. I'm trying to do what I can while I'm in there. I mean, like, I just don't feel like Pat Sabatini has fought the guys I've fought as well. So with that being said, like it's all going to come down to October 12th, but that's my game plan.
You mentioned earlier about like things that you learned from the fights that you've had, and you mentioned that in those last two, maybe you're being too risky. Is that what it is? You think like you're maybe I don't know if you
Yeah,
overconfident?
I feel like I would overextend myself, like fight too much. It's still a sport at the end of the day, and you can see that with the younger guys. Like they're not overextending themselves, and it's not so much of a war as it used to be back in the day. You know what I mean? With like Forrest Griffin, in that one fight, like nobody's scrapping it out like that unless they've trained together, and they already know what the next guy's gonna do. So, um, with that being said, I gotta go with the times. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's a time and place to scrap it out, but maybe I need to wait towards the end of the rounds, towards the end of the fight.
Be more strategic. You think a lot of guys are like that now, that they play this game?
Yeah, I think it's emotional control. Can you stand there in the pocket and have bombs dropped on you and just let them whiz by and just stay calm? That I think that's the new age right now that's going on. Like being able to stay in position while that stuff is going on and not getting caught up in it and still running your own moves, still fighting your fight.
Do you think like fighting in the apex in that scenario and fighting in front of a crowd in that scenario, how different is that?
Oh, it's completely different. Like I feel like I have a lot more to give when it's live. They're chanting and like it's more of like you're racing a car and the RPM gauge, like you're redlining it more. Versus in the Apex, I feel like it's who redlines and then the other guy try to counter right at the end of that. You know what I mean? So you have to be careful not to be too hot at the wrong time, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure. It is a lot of emotional control, and sometimes guys get by with toughness though too, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I don't see this guy being able to like lay the bombs on me. So you know, uh, like it's gonna be hard to slam somebody and hurt them. Not that it couldn't happen, but like you don't see a lot of knockouts like that. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Training camp. Obviously, Fight Ready is your home. What did you do before you got into camp? Were you training at Fight Ready the whole time, or did you take some time off and train other spots?
I bought this house and I
Nice,
remodeled it,
nice.
and I just kind of been training. I'm a father, so like I have a home life, and yeah, I was just being a dad and the whole getting a house for my family and just that doing a different thing that I wanted to do with my life, and I got back into camp after that.
Being a father and in life, as a father, one of the biggest accomplishments you can make is to buy a home for your family, and remodeling it is even, icing on the cake. How does that impact your fighter life now?
Um, it makes it feel like the juice was worth the squeeze. If you're out there and you're wondering if this is something you can do, if like I was just a little country boy from East Tennessee, and I was mowing yards, and I had fought some Bellator fights and won them, but hadn't got the big opportunities yet, not the big money fights. And I was like, man, the only way I'm going to be able to do this is if I go all in. And I sold my company and came out here. Didn't know if I was going to make it, and it just happened. That's just how it goes. And I just hit a home run and kept hitting home runs. You know what I mean? And I ended up in the position I am now, and I'm very grateful. I'm glad that I stuck it out, and I can't wait to see what else I will be able to do.
So when you sold your company, you already had a family?
No, so like I was young. I was like 25, 26, and I was like, I'm just gonna move to the desert and I'm gonna try. And if I fail, I'm gonna come back and have to start all over. But I pretty much just had like clothes and stuff. Like I sold everything I had. I had a good mowing company. Like I had a couple mowers, so it was a good business. Like it could have carried me through life, but I just kind of literally traded lives. Like I traded something more comfortable and easy for something that was a dream job, and it happened. And I guess what I'm saying is like you never know unless you try, and definitely worked out for me. And I can't wait to see what else I'm gonna do.
Yeah, you're way better in life, man. Like you said, you didn't have a family at that time. Now you got a house, you're in the UFC, you got family. It looks like it's going really well for you, man.
Yeah, fighting has like made me who I am today. Like kind of my identity. You know,
But outside of that, what's your identity besides being a father?
I'm a hunter. I got a big elk tag coming up in a big unit. I'm a country boy. Uh, you know, I but I love to work hard. That's one thing I like to do. I love to work hard, whatever I'm doing, whether I'm building my house. Like when I say I remodeled it, I remodeled it. I didn't hire anybody to do it. So yeah, I think those are important skills to exercise and to learn. And I've always been raised to be like self sufficient, you know. So I guess that's what I'm trying to teach other people,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know.
Yeah, as a father, you gotta like push that onto your kids. You know what I mean? Like you try to at least.
He's still really young right now, so I'm not pushing too much
Okay,
on him.
all right. So,
Yeah.
you get back in the training camp, you get an opponent, right? So, when you organize like who you work with, in detail, who are the guys?
Bobby Moffitt is a big name that comes to mind. Henry Corrales, he's always been my sparring partner. Um, we got a lot of new guys in the gym. So we got a Shimon Marias. We got so many people. We got Ray Waters. So there's all kinds of bodies, and they're bringing in new guys all the time from different camps that want to come out and try. So I'm getting a lot of different looks.
Anything you tweaked with this camp? Like anything different? Maybe you added.
I think I'm like got that father strength now, and then with that, there's a lot of things that knowledge, maturity, like I remember watching a Batman movie one time, and they were talking about like he fights like a little boy. He fights with all his might in the beginning, like all emotion. So like I just feel like raising him has taught me so much, and just in general, and can help my fighting skills, in so many different ways. Like all around, I guess the mental warfare of it too, So I'm just excited to get out there and put on a performance, really.
What's your vision for this fight? What do you think's gonna happen?
Uh, in a dream world, I knock him out in the first round. In reality, I think that I will TKO him in the second round.
All right. A couple questions, outside the fight. There's some new rule changes coming up soon in November. They start in November. They're going to allow 12 to 6 elbows and the grounded opponent. I mean, it's changed. Now you have to have an elbow on the ground or a knee on the ground to be a grounded opponent. Do you think that's going to impact fights?
Yeah, I think it's going to impact fights because as a wrestler, like I hit a takedown, you're down on the ground, and I let you get up to your feet. So now I get a free knee to the head,
Mhm.
a free big shot. So it's kind of turning into one FC a little bit. Um, with how they'll like take him down and then soccer kick.
Yeah.
Well, you can just soccer kick, but let him up a little bit more. Let his hands come up or whatever. Let his elbow come up. So I feel like for the wrestlers, you'll see a lot more
Mm.
finishes because they can have that top control, keep people down, and let them shy and work their way up. And then when they do, they land those big shots. That's what I think.
Yeah, it is interesting because like people will like pull themselves to the cage and then you'll have their back and have them tied up and then like they'll have their one hand down, but that one hand down doesn't really do anything. And I think it's new things you can drill, right? For finishes at least.
And I think it'll make everybody's wrestling better
Mhm.
because if you have to go back down to your knee, then you're going back to your
Yeah.
base. So, like, the strikers will have to get better at the wrestling. But I think also with the 12 to 6 elbows, like, if somebody has your back, like, you can go straight for the eye. You
Mm.
know what I mean? So, a lot of people, I see a lot of people do this. I do this a lot. Like in London, I was like elbowing him everywhere I could hit him, and I feel like this will play into my game a lot. Will help me a lot because then I can just rear back and I don't have to really have as much control. I can just sling
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, especially if you're in the mount and you could just throw down 12-6, you know what I mean? That's a huge weapon right there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
there's gonna be some bloody finishes or more bloody
But
finishes.
you see a lot of people like giving them this way,
Yeah,
but you don't see a lot of people pole starting them.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Like if somebody's got control of me, you don't see a lot of people pole starting as much. And even if they have back control. So I feel like you'll see a lot of different elbows and a lot more knockouts from this because the gloves are getting smaller, the rules are changing. They're trying to make it more exciting, more action. The next thing they'll do is after a certain point of time on the ground, they'll probably stand them up. Is my call because in wrestling there's like a stalling, and then they stand you back up, and they're like warning, and they kind of already do that, but they don't stand them back up as much. They don't make it a rule. So I feel like now they're gonna start implementing that more and more and more.
yeah, for sure. And in your division, the title fight's coming up soon as well. UFC 308. You got Holloway and Topuria talking about they're gonna point to the ground to each other. You know what I mean? Like in a title fight, isn't that insane? Well, imagine if they went out first round, opening bell, and then just pointed to the ground and just started slinging them at each other. Would that be the best title fight of all time, or what?
I think so, but I don't think Taporia is ready for
Oh,
that.
really? Hmm.
I think he can hang with it for a while, but I think he won't be able. He doesn't have the experience that Max has if that happens. I think that Max knows better than to step in sometimes. He won't let his ego get in control. Where you got a younger fighter that just needs to believe in himself and beat the older guy. But I think I think he set out too long, like had too much of a layoff to be able to come back. And if you watch Shug, you can see what I'm saying.
Mhm. All right. October 12th, man, you're back in action in the Apex JSP. Thank you so much, man, for taking the time and all the best with you, your family, and the rest of the year.
Thank you. Appreciate it.